If we think that we should be faking something, then we probably shouldn't be dancing.
Man, when the stars don't align with the partner, what do we do? There is no desire in me that it should have worked or it could have worked.
We're just humans. We are trying our best, and the main thing that we should avoid is to feel guilty. That's the big thing.
Things start to get more complicated when it starts to become uncomfortable on the body.
Sometimes we connect with our partners in a way that everything else disappears. And that is amazing. That is beautiful.
I think that the relationship during the dance might be the most important thing.
Before the social, I need a whole session to prepare myself because I need to try my best to bring myself as a dancer. No, I don't fake social dancing. No, I don't always enjoy social dancing. That's the reality. That's the cold, hard truth. What do you do when the connection with your partner or the music just isn't there? Do you fake it to be polite? Or is there a way to find authentic joy even when things aren't clicking? And how can shifting from blame to curiosity save your night on the dance floor? Well, let's find out. Hello everyone, and welcome back to ZoukNerds. In this episode, Gui and I explore how to handle misaligned dances. We'll break down why faking it is never the answer, how to use technical curiosity to bridge a difficult connection, and how to redefine what a good dance means to you. Let's learn how to find the joy even in the moments when the stars don't align. So, let's go! Hello everyone, and welcome back. My name is Alison Sanji, and let's welcome back our beautiful co-host. Hello, Gui.
Hello, Alison. Hello, everybody. Welcome back.
In this episode, we're going to be talking about the fact that, sometimes we're not fully connected with our partner or the music or the environment. And then the question comes into mind. Do we fake it? Do we always enjoy it? If we do, how does that work? Well, we're going to be deep diving into how we deal with this. And spoiler alert, no, we don't fake it. If we think that we should be faking something, then we probably shouldn't be dancing. But yeah, how do we deal with this? How about you, Gui? How do you deal when the stars don't align and things aren't the way that we'd like to be in our dancing?
This is hard to answer simply. This is hard to answer straightforward like that because it's very philosophical to me. When the stars are not aligning in the dance, what does that mean, right? Well, right now I'm in Sydney, Australia. So as you can see, change of environment one more time. And I just came from the US after having been in Brazil. So I was in Brazil for a little less than a month, and I was in the US for a weekend. I didn't social dance much in the West this time around, but I got to experience different vibes, different realities, and different understandings of what is not aligning, what is the stars not aligning. And I think, Alison, what you were referring to is when the stars don't align with your partner, right?
Yes, that's one of the elements, but it could be in multiple of the elements. But let's just go with the partner first, and then we talk about the rest later.
Okay, good. Good.
Yeah, yes. Let's isolate.
Let's focus on one for now. Yeah, man, when the stars don't align with the partner, what do we do? For me, depends on the level of non-alignment. I first check how non-aligned is it. I don't have many instances in which is deeply not aligned, in which we are almost like I'm speaking Portuguese and the person is speaking German. This doesn't happen very often anymore because by default, I try to find a middle ground where we can communicate with ease. So I don't push the dance too far in the sense of I found there is some differences in the way that we express, in the way that we use the technique. in the way that we use the music or the space. So when I understand there is some level of difference or a dissonance there, I try to find where can I stay that is better, that is easier, there is ease of motion, there is ease of being. And because of that sort of default setting that I have nowadays, for me, the stars don't misalign. The stars don't misalign too much. But when they are not fully aligned and understanding the spectrum, I see how much through the dancing, as we dance, how much I can, let's say, bring more alignment, how much I can understand better this person, their technique, their dance, and try to find more ways to continue dancing that is pleasant, that is nice. And then from there, just gauging. I think it's just like gauging moment by moment. When it's not working, and I have had instances that it's not working at all, I don't stop the dance midway. But when the song is over, I say thank you. And it's funny because when I do that, I don't feel necessarily something bad or something weird. There is no, these days, there is no desire in me that it should have worked or it could have worked if I have done this, if I had done that. I stay in the realm of observation. Why it didn't align at first and why it kept not aligning as we kept dancing. We don't dance one song anymore, like at least in our current Brazilian Zouk social dance etiquette, dancing at least 2 to 3 songs. And in this process of 2 to 3 songs, understanding, investigating that alignment further. And if I don't find that alignment and I end the dance because of that, I'm just thinking how it didn't align, why it didn't align, but not wishing it had aligned. I don't know if that makes sense. Not necessarily wishing that I had found an alignment. There is the ego part of me that whispers in my ear a little bit, oh, but adaptation is your thing. You should have found a way around it. Oh, but then you failed in your tools. So there is this little voice that comes, but it doesn't come very loud. I'm able to listen to it and I say, yeah, okay, I hear you. But, there are limitations. And trying to stay focused on the partner. But when we talk about the other elements, the music, the space, yourself, I think we're going to be able to dive deeper and bring more complexity to the topic. But that's it. What about for you, Addison? What happens when it doesn't align with a partner?
Well, that's a tough one because I think from what you're saying, I want to add to that and say that we're just humans, right? We are trying our best. And the main thing that we should avoid is to feel guilty. That's the big thing. Like you were saying, you don't want to feel like you didn't achieve or you failed something. That's the journey that I go through. I don't want to feel guilty. Now, how do I deal with this? Well, I try my best to find different elements in that moment that could help me. Maybe the connection with me and my partner is not really the ideal connection that I like to have when I'm social dancing, but the music is vibing, the venue is great, and I have lots of friends around me, and everything else is beautiful. So what I do is that I get this happiness and joy in an overall sensation, not just the partner. The partner is not the 100% focus with what I'm experiencing in that moment. Sometimes we connect with our partners in a way that everything else disappears. And that is amazing. That is beautiful. It doesn't matter where we are. It doesn't matter if the world shuts down and the music stops playing, but that partnership is going to be beautiful. That's not the case a lot of the times. And that's really not the case very rarely. And when those rare occasion happens, I'll try to focus on an overall. And I want to clarify here, I'm not saying that I ignore what's happening between my partner and I. No, I'm not ignoring that and going like, okay, don't focus on your partner and just enjoy the rest. That's not it. What I'm saying is that I try to bring everything else that is happy, everything else that I'm enjoying, and I put that in the overall joy and happiness. And that usually helps me enjoy that dance much better. This is talking about like a very high level understanding of what's going on. But if I go more into detail, I get into the technicalities. I think about how does this person dance different from me? And I look in my toolbox and I think, okay, I've learned something like this before. I've learned something like this before. So I'm going to try this and see if that improves our joy, our partnership. And I go over multiple toolboxes, technical toolboxes, musical toolboxes, soft skill toolboxes, and I go over and over and over. But that's, I think, more a detailed approach to it. The first approach is basically trying to enjoy everything that is going around me and bring that into the dance and try my best to make sure that my partner and I are having fun. Not just my partner, not just me, but both of us. And lastly, if this person that I'm dancing with is someone that I feel comfortable enough with, I will, after the dance, ask them for some feedback or for how they felt. Because then I can share and say, hey, I felt like there's something off. And I really want to know if you felt that. And if you did, how was that for you? How can we do better? Because I would love to get some feedback and do better next time, not just for you, but for anybody that I dance with. So those are the first things that come into my mind.
I think what you mentioned resonates with me with the idea of curiosity, right? Like this investigation and then the curiosity to look into the technique and the way that your partner is doing things and perhaps not look at it as a source of difference, like looking at it as something that could be negative, but looking at it as something that could be investigated more, as something positive in which you are learning something new, in which you are learning new ways, getting the opportunity to reverse engineer things. And sometimes I share this in class. That's a great way to learn, actually, because of the difference in which Brazilian Zouk is taught, the difference in approaches. You, as a leader, and I'm speaking as a leader, I think you too, Nelson, speaking as a primary leader. Mm-hmm. When you lead something into someone that you would initially expect a certain result, you observe a different result. And in that observation, instead of thinking, crap, it didn't work, or they should have done this thing here instead of this thing here, my mind would go to, oh, interesting. So I let a bonus, but it was a yo-yo somehow, just an example. So you understanding that movement that normally when you execute, generate a bonus, generate a yo-yo. So how can I actually bring a bonus out? And that would be the process of investigation. And that alone, only have that mentality, allows me, when I'm social dancing and, the stars are not fully aligned with that person, and looking at things with this curiosity mindset, is almost like a game in which I am discovering things at each turn, at each new movement that I lead. The way that the person follows, I am learning about that. Things start to get more complicated for me personally is when it starts to become uncomfortable on the body. When, for example, the tension builds up in a way that I cannot find a way around it, that I cannot adapt to it in a way that feels comfortable to me. Or when there is a disconnection in our relationship, in our engagement, in our eye contact, in our basically look at each other, acknowledging each other's presence. That for me might be the hardest thing to solve in a way. That might be, for me, the biggest source of misalignment. So I would say, now that we said all of this, and now that I'm saying all of this, realizing right now as I speak, that the main source of stars not aligned is when the relationship between us, that exchange, is not existing or not there for whatever reason. Because the technique and the things related to the movement, I think I can find a way to find ease, adapt, and understand the path that we can take that makes sense for both of us. But when I cannot find a way to interact, then it's really hard for me. Then it's really difficult. And there are other elements, music, space, then I start to borrow from them a little bit more. If I focus right now on my partner and ways to, solve that with my partner, I think that the relationship, going to dance, might be the most important thing. And thinking further about it, it might be because of the way that I learned social dancing, the way that I learned Brazilian partner dancing was revolving around the relationship between me and my partner at each song. Jaime used to say the idea that you have a 5-minute long relationship, with the beginning, middle, ends in those 5 minutes. And I grew as a social dancer, understanding that the exchange between me and my partner is the core element of that interaction. So when that's there, we can figure out the technique stuff. We can figure out the movement. When that's not there, it's really hard for me to even want to figure out the movement, because it seems like that we are just in different vibrations altogether, that we are just dancing because out of obligation, and one said yes to the other because we didn't want to seem rude or something like that, If that makes sense, Alison, if it resonates with you in any way.
Yes, I think that if I'm to summarize what you're saying with something that I really believe, is that we learn the biggest lessons in our life from the moments that we fail at something. And maybe, okay, guys, fail is a very strong word.
Yes.
But we can also describe as something not going as planned or as you desire, right? To me, those are the biggest lessons. If I always show up to class and I teach the class and the ratings are like 10 out of 10 for everything, what am I learning as a teacher? I'm not learning anything. I'm just in this bubble that everything works. But to me, honestly, I would probably feel very bored and not want to continue doing it. One of the reasons that dancing is something that I know I'm going to be doing for life, and even if dancing may not be in my future old self, may not be the main thing that I do, is something that is always going to be there, it's because I'm always learning something from it. Every single time I dance, every single time I teach, every single time I do anything related to dance, I learn something. And the same thing goes for teaching. The same thing goes for event organization, podcasting, social dancing. As long as I can learn from it, I will enjoy doing it, even when things get tough. And that's the mentality that I bring to everything. In this episode, we're talking about social dancing, and that's how I approach it. I approach social dancing in a way that I'm open to learn from that moment. If it's not working, why? If I'm not feeling good, why? If the partner is not feeling good and I can sense that, why? The problem, the issue, the thing that we want and should avoid is to go downwards in a spiral of negativity and start blaming ourselves, blaming the music, blaming the partner, and blaming all of those things. When I'm asking those questions, why this, why that, why this, why that, is out of curiosity because I want to learn, not because I want to find something or someone to blame this experience on. That's not it. Unfortunately, that's how I see that most people do. They want to understand why, because they want to shift the blame. I'm not enjoying this because, the DJ sucks. I had a terrible night because everybody that I danced with, I just, I didn't like it. No. My approach is very much on me. What is missing? What am I not doing that is allowing me to feel this way in a negative way, right? So once again, I just want to remind that I'm not blaming myself. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just looking for clues, just solving a puzzle. I think that's what it's interesting and intriguing and sometimes even fun to me, solving that puzzle. As you were speaking, I remembered multiple times when I went to mixed styles event, mixed Latin events and all of those events. And those events, bro, if you're not in the right mindset, can be a terrible experience. If you are a Brazilian Zouk lover, hardcore, and you go to an event where maybe 50% of the room are there to just try things out and just go with the flow and maybe have their first Zouk dance in the social, you're going to have a tough time.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's not easy. So when I go to those mixed Latin events, I completely shift the person that is there. It's not the same person that goes to a Zouk event. It's a different person. This person is kind of like a multicolored person, a chameleon, if you could use that. And I try to blend the colors with the person. If they know a little bit of Zouk, I'll play with that. If they know a little bit of salsa, I'll play with that. If they know a little bit of bachata, I'll play with that and I'll try to have fun with it. Because if I try to have like a pure Zouk experience, then I'm really preparing myself for failure. And that was on me, right? So I think there's a lot of times and there are a lot of opportunities that we could change how we approach and change how we bring ourselves to then experience that environment in a positive way. So that's kind of like why I was saying before. I try to look inwards on how I could change because there are many things that I can do to shift the perspective and possibly have a better time. But of course, like you said, Gui, there are moments that we're just like, well, thank you very much. Enjoy your night. High five, change. Because everybody has a limit. We're just humans.
Yeah, what you said brought up a couple of things. The first one is about how much have you prepared yourself for that particular instance, for the particular opportunity that you were going out to dance. Us, for example, we are teachers and then we are in a mixed style event. In certain ways, there is a switch in our brains that shift and we are almost like ambassadors of the dance. We are there representing what the dance is, what the dance can be, and perhaps most importantly, how the dance feels like or how the dance can feel like. But when we are in these events, we go to the event with a different mindset. I'm here to enjoy Brazilian Zouk and to show how enjoyable Brazilian Zouk can be. So when dancing with somebody that just dances, for example, salsa or just dances bachata or just dances tango, we will not fit really well. The whole system of the dance is different. The basic step is different. The model travel is completely different. So that alignment by default is not there. But we are still having fun. We're still enjoying life because we are there showing people, oh my God, look how fun Brazilian Zouk can be. Come to us. Come take a class. Join the church. So that's a different mindset. I think if we were, like Alison said, if we were to these events wanting to have the full-on, powerful Brazilian Zouk experience, man, it would be frustration all night, all the time. And we would not want to leave our rooms except to teach, So there is a different expectation setting that really, really helps. When we are in even when we are in purely Brazilian Zouk events, depending on the style of the event too. If you are in a congress that has all the Jack and Jills, all the presentations, all the competitions, the mood of the event, the energy of the event is generally high. And you are going for the event expecting to find people, to have a dance that will shift your weight on the spot and the music is going to be calm. It is very likely you shall leave frustrated. So it's like aligning the expectations and tuning in to that vibe that is going to be presented to you. Make it easier for the stars to align with more people because you prepared yourself for the environment that you are going. The same thing if you are going to a retreat that has Brazilian Zouk as one of the elements, and you want to do boneca toalha and all this stuff and go crazy. And night in, night out is songs of the forest, whale music. Of course, you're going to be frustrated because your expectations. So even if you can dance to those songs, but you were not, prepared for them, mentally prepared for them in your soul, the stars will not align. So I think, Alison, you brought a very good sort of behind the curtains aspect of why things might align or might not align. Because even your mood when you got out of the shower, when you were putting your clothes to go out to dance, were already not aligning with what you were going for. And this is something that every time I go to Brazil, to Rio, I go in December. And December is what? Gringo season, as they call it. We have events every single weekend and sometimes social every single day. And most of them follow a particular vibe. And many times I think I am prepared for that vibe. I think I am. But I get to the place, I realize, I am not. So even when I dance with amazing followers, the stars don't align because I was not fully aligned. There is this thing, I was even joking with some people this past year, that I say to myself, every year I go to the thing and I say, man, next year, I'm not gonna go, I'm gonna stay home. And then the next year come, I feel the thing, I feel the little itch, okay, let's go. So this year, this past one, I had to make things different. I was like, okay, I know the vibe is going to be this one. I know the volume of the music is going to be this high. I know it's going to be this hot. So the level of preparation, the clothes, how early I arrived, foods that I ate, how much sleep I got, everything, I prepared everything. So I was able to have very, very pleasant socials in situations which normally I wouldn't, because took time for myself, took time for me to find what can I do, like Alison was saying, right? I could have been blaming the vibe, been blaming the music, been blaming the volume. And for many instances, I did blame all these things. But then I realized, but I still want to dance. There's all these beautiful people coming to Brazil. There's this opportunity to connect with people that perhaps I wouldn't otherwise, So how can I make this work for myself and then find a way to make it work? And I found a way to make it work. And there is one second element, which is aligned to this element. For me, is the idea of resonance. How much you resonate with certain people, certain music, certain spaces. And that varies in our journey. I remember when I started going to Brazilian Zouk events, big ones, for the first time, this was 2017 already. And I could not find any joy in the socials because I could not connect to the music in any shape or form. And I considered that at that moment, I could not resonate with the songs, with the music that was being played, and that was affecting my experience as a whole. But then I realized, that's a reality now. There might be, and there is beauty in what is happening right now. I just can't see it yet. And it's just giving it time to find that, and then noticing that what didn't resonate before starts resonating later. And these things keep changing, So there is element sometimes that we think that we need to force ourselves into certain experiences. And sometimes this is seen as a negative thing. And people say, you don't need to force yourself into anything. And sometimes it is seen as a step that you might need to take to adapt to the new ways So I, in a way, force myself to listen to the songs that I didn't listen before, that I didn't like, to find the beauty in them, and I did, So for me, the idea of forcing yourself into something that you would not otherwise do, or in something that is not resonating with you at the moment, I think it also requires some reflection, because this forcing might be something that you can do, something that you are willing to do for a little bit in order to see maybe there is something there. I just cannot see it yet. And sometimes you have absolute no bandwidth, and then you don't force yourself, which comes back to what Alison was talking about, is diving deep into understanding how much space you have for these things. How much space you have to listen to the song a little bit more. Maybe there is something nice. Like right before we started recording, right, Alison, I was watching a Jack and Jill dance, and you're like, oh my God, I love this song. I listen to this song when I'm working out in the gym, and I said, man, I don't like this song at all. But I will listen to that song again and again and again. And I'm pretty sure I'll find something very nice about that song because Alison likes it. And if he likes it, there must be some beauty in it. I just can't see it yet. You know what I mean? And I have energy to listen to the song. It's not something that will take my strength away. And what comes to partners and dancing with someone, that's the same thing. For example, you're dancing with that person, is not working. It's not working at all. And the question that we get, and the question that comes up, should I force myself into staying in this dance a little bit more? And there comes that investigation. How much space do I have for that? How this dance is actually being? Is it uncomfortable? Is like hurting? Or is it we are not technically in the same page? Or is it that we are not looking at each other? So analyzing what is happening and seeing what you are willing to do, like to stay a little bit longer to see if perhaps you can turn things around, or not. So comes back to the self in the end of the day. In that, I agree a lot with you, Alison, because every time I go to Brazil, I face this challenge, not with the people, but with not even the vibe, I would say, not even the vibe, but really how hot it is when we're social dancing, Oh my God, yeah, every time. I want to blame the heat, every single time. But I'm like, no, how can I work around it? You know what I mean?
Well, that's why I don't go to Brazil in December, January season anymore. I've made that mistake a few times when a lot of my students back from Australia wanted to go at that season. And I was like, well, okay, I'll go there as well to help you guys. And nope. I only go to Brazil in winter now. And that is the main reason, because it's way too hot. Way too hot.
Yes.
No. But what you're saying connects with everything else that I really experience in pretty much every day in my life. You guys know what's here from the podcast or from workshops. But in our personal lives, we're very different. Like, I'm a very, very introverted person. If you put me in a room with people that I don't know or that is not in a dancing environment, I am hiding. So if I allow that vibe or that person to come to any event, bro, nobody's ever going to hire me because they're going to think that I am snob, I don't want to talk to people, or I'm a superstar mentality or something like that. But it's not. It's just that I am a very, very shy person. I'm an introvert. And for me, I feel comfortable when I am exercising some kind of role. So it's that persona that has been created naturally as I became a dancer, a teacher, or an organizer. And the moments that I'm not in that role, that's when things can get tough. For example, in a social, I'm not teaching, I'm not podcasting, I'm not organizing. I put myself as a dancer. I don't bring myself as a teacher. I bring myself as a dancer. And the dancer is shy. The dancer is insecure. The dancer wants to please, the dancer wants to be a good person for the community. So, for example, when I go to events such as Canada Zouk Congress, Brazilian Zouk World Championships, where the level is very high and there's a lot of competitions and people are there to push themselves and learn. Bro, before the social, I need a whole session to prepare myself because I need to try my best to bring myself as a dancer, knowing that there is a high expectation from the people social dancing with me. It's a very, very tough mind game to play just before the social. Very, very tough mind game because a lot of the times I'm a head judge or something like that, and people just have this expectation like you would, you know? It's obvious. If I buy a ticket to watch Adele in concert, I'm going to have the expectations that, it's going to be the best time of my life watching to Adele sing live in front of me. And if it's not, I'm really going to be disappointed. It is what it is. So setting yourself up for success is really hard. You mentioned Brazil. And oh dear, every time I go to Brazil, I go through the same thing. Even though I go in winter nowadays, I still go through the same mental prep. Because some people know me in Brazil, but others don't. And that doesn't really affect me. That's actually nice. I enjoy going to parties where people don't really see me as a teacher. But what really takes me a lot of prep when I go to Brazil is how diverse the styles are in the same social. It's a Russian roulette on what you're going to get when you invite somebody to dance. That is something that I really need to prepare myself to. When I go to a certain city in North America or event or Europe or Australia or Asia, I know what I'm going to get. I know, okay, people like to dance like this here. Cool. I'm ready. But in Brazil, it's not. It's such a mixed pot that I think the biggest thing for me when I go there is to prepare myself for anything and everything. When I go to a high expectation event, is to prepare myself to be grounded, that people may have expectations, but I need to bring myself as a dancer and have a good time just like a student. Or when I go to a weekender, it's me. I am the artist. I am the person that people are there to learn and to dance with or just to watch. But I still want to prepare myself to be a grounded person, dancer, that is there to enjoy a good time, just like the next person. I don't want to allow myself to get to a place where I'm nervous and I'm conscious and I'm stressed because of all of the expectations that maybe some people have towards me or that I put on myself. That's the hardest thing. So connecting this with, do I fake social dancing? Or do I always enjoy social dancing? No, I don't fake social dancing. No, I don't always enjoy social dancing. That's the reality. That's the cold, hard truth. I don't fake it because I'm going to try to find an overall enjoyment with everything that is going on. And I don't always enjoy it because I'm human. And sometimes the partner is perfect, the music's perfect, the environment is perfect, but I'm not in a good place. So I can't blame anybody else. And I'm not going to blame myself either. I'm just going to observe and try to do better next time. That's the hardest thing and a lesson that I think it's taken me over 20 years to learn. And I'm still learning and getting better at it. But every time I succeed with it and I feel like, you know what, tonight was a good night. I try to, store that in my brain, in my body, everything that happened. And I try to bring that for the next time because it's beautiful. It's beautiful when you can find ways to have fun and to enjoy whatever is happening because you've shifted your perspective and your expectations. I really love when that happens. And my major goal in life is to get better with that in all aspects, personal, professional, family, friends, all of these things.
Yeah, super nice. The last thing I wanted to say adding on to what you were mentioning, Alison, is perhaps something that people don't look into it very much, according to my experiences teaching, which refers to what do you consider to be the good experience? What do you consider to be the good dance or the ideal one? That's really important, I think, to look into, and you will find out you have interesting discoveries when you ask your question, what is the good dance for me? Or what would be the good dance for me right now?
Yeah, how do you define success or failure? This is a big life lesson that everybody really needs to dig into. You know, a lot of us think that success is this and then failure is that. But when you really look deep inside, that might actually flip upside down.
Exactly. I had this soul searching, let's call it soul searching, a couple years ago when I understood that what the good dance meant to me, it was a combination of factors that needed to exist in order for me to feel satisfied with the dance in the first place. And then realizing that this combination of factors was actually really hard to get all these things aligned like this. It was actually difficult. And then understanding that I was putting a lot of my joy in dancing in elements that many times I have absolutely no control. So figuring out what the good dance is to you and understanding that right now in your concept of a good dance, you might have too many external factors involved that will cause the stars to not align more often because there are all these things that you are not controlling. So what I did for myself was what the good dance is for me, what elements the good dance has. They shrunk to a couple of them. And some of them, most of them, is referring to me. You know, like, what is the story that I'm telling myself when I go into the dance, the event? What is it that I can do for my own enjoyment in that experience? You know, and realizing that in applying these things, the dances in general become more enjoyable and the stars align more easily than they wouldn't. So I started to enjoy dancing with more people from different schools, from different techniques, from all these things, because I was not putting the responsibility of my joy in them. You know, there is one thing that is still an external factor that gets to me sometime, which is the thing we talked in the beginning, the interaction. You know, that thing still gets to me. It doesn't depend on me 100%, and it still gets to me. And depending on the energy that you have, depending on the level of energy that you have that day, that moment, and the other elements get you more or less. So the music will get you more or less, how comfortable the dance is will get you more or less. So it's, again, the idea of self-observation and engaging how much energy you have for thing A or thing B. But in the end, I think, is this question, what is the good dance for me? What elements the good dance has? And just by looking at them, seeing how much is relying on somebody else or something else, and how much can I take ownership of it, and how much can I make it my own, you know? So that can make a big difference in how easy or how hard it is for you to connect with more people when you're social dancing. And to finalize and acknowledge that I am saying all of this from the perspective of a primary leader, you know? So I think it will be good, Alison, when we have a follower again, to do this episode again and ask them the same questions, because pretty sure the reality for them is quite different. And so it'll be interesting to know what they would have to say about all this.
Absolutely. I would love that. And that's one of the reasons why there are some topics that you guys may be requesting from us that we don't approach right away.
Yeah.
Because we believe that those topics would be best with a more balanced perspective from leaders and followers. And we might have that opportunity in the coming weeks, right?
Yeah.
Paloma will be joining Gui in their tour, and they'll be together traveling for a couple of months. So fingers crossed,
yes,
we shall have both of them for many more episodes. And with that in mind, guys, thank you so much for being here. Do us a favor, please make sure that you go down on the app that you're using now and make sure that you have followed us and subscribed to us. This really helps us continue growing here. This is something that we love so much and we want to continue doing, and your support means the world to us. And now, I'll see you on the next episode. So, thank you. Beijos, abraços, and ciao.
Bye, everyone.